today. Why is everybody sitting on the back? Oh, not me. Stop it. Super excited to see you. Where's my phone?
You.
We're gonna get it going. Okay, can be fine. Okay. I know we'll start to fill in and trickle in as everybody's getting their Wednesday started. So super excited to see everybody back. I hope everyone had fun last time. It was, I know I did. Standing up here and like us just going back and forth with the whole bunch of stuff. It was super duper fun. And you know me, I bounce. Okay. Any ahas from last week that anyone wants to share with us? Like, did anyone just have something that like really struck a chord with you or resonated? You're like, hey, I want to apply this to my business. Oh, I wish Aiden was here. He's in California. Aiden is a new agent in our office, and he was calling from our cancels and expires on New Year's Day when we did that call day. He kept at it. He's been using some of the scripts that or concepts and scripting that we're going to talk about today. That kid, oh my gosh, he's not even 21 yet. He's going to go. He set an appointment with what he thought was like a $1.5 million listing, met it, and it turned out to be a 2.4. So, and we do have a listing coming in and being signed. So,
Raise your hand if you would have shied away from seeing like 1.5 million expired. Be like, I'll hold that one last. First.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
well, and two, he's not here because he's helping his dad, in California. But just kind of like, you know, that like new blood, right? You know, you come in and you get so excited, but it's just a good reason why you should just be diving in and kind of learning and tweaking and pivoting as you're going through something. So it was just super fun to watch. So, okay. Does anyone have anything? Okay. I feel like I'm going to make everybody do jumping jacks because I don't think y'all are prepared for what we have for you today. Mark Norman.
Doesn't expire.
Right here. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about what I would like to say is concepts within scripting. Okay, so it is not, I'm going to read from a page. These are things that are designed to create some default responses to objections that you're hearing or having a conversation. We'll even talk about a type of scripting that really like moves with a mindset and kind of manipulating the other side in a positive way. And then we will have our round-offs between our two opponents. So that should be really, really fun. And then we will do what I consider, and don't get it confused with what I had said at the beginning, but concept scripting. So again, what's my objection? Here's the handler. Here's the tools that you have in play. And so that will be more of an interactive thing. I know about most of everybody here, and that was hello, my dear. So, you know, there is some experience to some degree. So you guys know, you hear the chatter. I want you to bring those objections when we have that hello, my dear, when we have that time together, okay? Because that's our time to kind of build a plan on how we want to have our message of the moment look. It will apply to later down in the course. We will be using your chosen message of the moment. But two, like just because we're in a week between our classes doesn't mean that we shouldn't be working on converting. Okay, any questions before we go? All right. So today we have Alex, please wave. He's over in the corner. Okay,
Good morning, everyone.
um,
Morning.
Sally's on her way, and then, well, you're stuck with me again, I'm sorry. Onward we go. You know me, love expectations. So what are we doing today? Love it. We're gonna snap pictures, take notes, ask all the questions, type in. 2 10-minute breaks and a lunch break. If you have to use a little boys and girls room, do it. We're not heathens. Here's a restroom code right here for you guys. And commitment. Again, love seeing your faces. Consistency is always the key in our business, right? Is what will allow us to pivot and shift through any market shift we have. Okay, I'm gonna try not to trip. I cannot guarantee. So what if reading from a script was a thing of the past and building default responses around the objections is the future? Okay. We talked a little bit about this yesterday or last week when we talked about the different lead sources, right? Like, what do we know about them and where are they sitting mentally, right? Because that matters for how we have the conversation. It will also drive their pain points, motivation, and the things that we're going to use to be able to solve the problems, because we are hired to be what?
Problem solved.
Yep, thank you. What you don't know is we're also hired to be free psychologists and therapists as well. So that is a little bit what we're going to be talking about, is these concepts or these mindset shifts are around those pieces. So you see where the classes are starting to layer on top of each other yet? Okay, okay. A good script makes for our lives easier too. I'm gonna have to take this off. Okay. I know that some of you have heard of it. Who's heard of LP Mama? Okay. There is now a T in there if you don't know it. Okay. Emily Baker is a MAPS coaching coach for Keller Williams. And this is something that she has designed. I like to call these things, we're going to go through power techniques. So this is designed that if you can get all of this information, you should be able to set an appointment, and that is legit. Okay. So remember we talked a little bit about ISAs last week. We touched so briefly on it. ISAs are trained to have to set a qualified appointment, right? No one wants to show up to an appointment that they can't necessarily convert or aren't prepared for. No one likes to be side-blinded, right? Do y'all like to be side-blinded? Okay, I know I don't. So if I'm going to walk in, I want to make sure that I have a clear understanding. So this was designed to make sure that an appointment was qualified. Okay. So first one, L, location. This works for buyers and sellers, by the way, so I will go between two. Where is the property located? You need to know that for all the reasons, correct? We also have to do our research. Location can affect our price. It can affect our showings. It can affect our open house. It can affect a lot, right? On the buy side, where do they want to be? Okay. Price point. What does the homeowner feel their home is worth, right? We always give our recommendations when we run our comps, but what do they think it's worth, right? Because if you have a seller that thinks their house is worth $1 million and a $500,000 price point, like, you got an uphill battle, correct? Like, that's a lot of work. So, you know, where do we set that expectation during our conversation with them? Are they below value? And is that an instantaneous, we can provide, you know, we can do this and they can make more. Okay. If they're a buyer, what do they think they can qualify for? And that's not an easy question. So how much can they afford monthly? Okay. We also are taught to do the math. So we will do the math and help them work through that and have a lender that can isolate and put all those final numbers together and take into account everything that we're not trained to do. Okay. Timeline. How pressing is it that they move? Are they just playing with the market? Testing it out? You know what I mean? Again, urgency. How urgent is this? Is this going to be a nurture? Am I going to have to build a different kind of plan? Or hello? And money, on the sell side. Okay, do they need to sell to buy? Okay, that tells you what? What does that tell you if they need to sell to buy?
I don't know if I can or there's constraints.
There's constraints, or it's a possibility there could be a, yeah, or a loan on the property. Okay, so that needs to be paid off. So then they're probably gonna need to finance, depending on how much, you know, they're gonna get for their house. On the buy side, right, money, how, you know, do they need to get a loan or can they pay cash, right? Those all matter because it matters how we write an offer. It matters, like, we can adjust time periods based off of that. We can or cannot look at properties off of it or list a certain way from it, right? So those things matter. Agency, this one's missed all the time. Oh, there we go. See, I caught myself. Okay, so do you remember when we talked about the fear of going back into our SOI past clients and our present clients? Okay, we talked about that we don't go into it. We tend to avoid it. We don't want the rejection, right? Agency is the same way. We're afraid to ask if they're working with someone, but raise the hands, and I can raise mine. Who has walked into some appointment or thought they had a good buyer or seller and found out that their sister, their brother, their mother, their best friend's an agent? And they were just,
Even though it's been nurtured for 2 years.
Yep.
and you're, right? And you're just like, all of that work, like when they say that we work for free, sometimes we do, like, so, and again, just like our SOI going outside because we didn't stay relevant, and finding someone else, that one hurts too. You know what I mean? Like, we don't like that. So, but we have to, because there's no point in doing all this work, going on an appointment, putting comps together, researching the neighborhood, understanding, you know, the market trends where they sit right now and all the other things, if they're never going to work with you. So we can't be afraid to ask that question. And motivation, always the biggest. Motivation's used in probably every script or concept somewhere, but why? It's their future. It's also their pain point or what's keeping them pinned, right? So really understanding what it is. And we are going to talk about some other pieces that are going to help you guys, you know, like motivation easier, you know, and some of those things. So if you have gotten LPTMAM, you should be able to set your appointment. And that's all you need to do. Set the appointment, okay? Thoughts, concerns? Oh, come on.
So when you have someone who's not in a hurry and they say they're not, there's no urgency, I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this much or I'm not gonna sell. How does that affect how you approach it?
Well, you got the information, so, you know, again, the appointment, like, if you've been able to get all that stuff, that should be on a nurture at that point, okay? So something happened. I mean, physical appointment, they go into your database, you know what I mean? You're nurturing something like that. But if someone's gonna give you all of this information, they're gonna talk about their money. Who wants to talk about their money with the stranger?
Nobody.
Okay, I don't want to. So, when they're talking about this, when they're talking about their true motivation, when you're getting into their true motivation, okay? Not, oh, I just want to make, you know, I want to make the most off the market right now, or yeah, I've got, you know, family in, you know, Florida. Well, what family? Who? You know what I mean? Like, you need to, like, we'll dig more further down. Sorry. Okay, any other ones?
On the agency side, I just going through it right now, actually. Someone that reached out to me because they saw what I did with my listing and said, we think that you could sell this, and all to find out that it's the sister's property and the husband died, and she's not on deed and all this stuff. Getting
Oh,
passed to the sister who's in Alaska. She's like taking
Yeah.
over when there is no agency, because I can't, how much to discuss with her.
yeah, you don't have the
I'm just
decision
nurturing
maker.
her and giving her guidance to tell her sisters, right, attorneys and stuff. But at that point, I'm just kind of in a stuck point with trying to figure out who the sister is. Apparently she's not in good health. You know, there's not.
Yeah, that's that's a but they do or they do not have an agent?
No, they do not have an agent. She wanted me because she saw I sold that side, sold the last.
Which is beautiful. So you've got some digging in and that's like a whole nother thing. But they don't have someone. So if you can find your decision maker, then that's something you can do, right? But agency, right? You know, they don't, so it's worth nurture, keeping and doing the work and the extra legwork for it.
Outside.
Exactly. Yes, thanks for raising your hand. I appreciate it. We're in class.
So, a rule that I live by when it comes to, I assume everybody has. Needs. I think the biggest mistake we do as salespeople is think that we are the only person on the planet that can service them, not others.
Mhm.
Okay, and as a result, we're not prepared for when that comes up. Oh, you have an agent? Like, I cannot tell you how irritating it is me as, somebody who loves scripts, and I'll get into all that later, is like, you need to show up prepared to be able to dig deep as to that agency that they're claiming that they have,
Mhm.
okay? If you think that more times than not, you're gonna show up to an open house and somebody walks in, or you're making a call and they're gonna say, no, I don't have an agent, you're gonna be sadly mistaken if you're new to the business. If you've been around and you already know, right? Like, they're probably gonna have it. Now, how good is that agent or that relationship? Like, guess what? They're talking about the person that sold them their home 3 years ago that they haven't talked to since because they don't have a 36 touch,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm gonna run circles around that agent, right? So don't forget, like, if they have a signed agreement, we have our ethics as realtors, okay? But till then, it is free game and I'm better than you. That's how I show up to my scripting.
And knowing that, though, the agency, if we didn't know or assume, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole bunch of handlers for that.
100%.
Or like how to get through them having someone that they prefer to work with. Yeah, go.
Well, I was only gonna say, in the case where I have a friend or I have a family member or whatever, I always consider that I'm sitting there for a reason. So now they're looking for the psychologist to help them out,
Mhm.
because they want a way out of having to tell their sister.
So why wouldn't you do that? Why would you not pick up the phone and say, hey, they're gonna list with me, I'll give you a
That's
10%, 15% referral or something like that for your time, we respect like whatever,
Yeah.
like give it back. But why don't you take that weight off? Right?
That's the script.
Yeah, so yes, so I want you, like, as we go through these things and we're talking about this, those objections that I said when we do the end part, the more interactive part, these are the things like, ooh, I like that. What's the handler for that? Like, how do we work through it? Those are the things I want you guys to bring at the end. Yes.
But wouldn't that a conversation, or wouldn't that be one of the first 5 questions that you would ask someone, like, do you have an agent? I mean, that's something that.
Yes, whether you do
right
it or
away
you
after
assume they do, or whatever the case is, yes, it needs to be somewhere. It has to be part of the conversation
I
somewhere.
mean, the first conversation.
Yeah.
Not 2 feelings.
Yeah.
Later.
100%. So, and yes, to go back to, remember, we talked about being very ethical last week as well and following the rules. So, if they have a signed agreement, we do not touch and poach. Okay, they have to decide to get out of there. That's a whole thing. Talk to your broker. Okay.
But so that
Yes.
really, like, I do a lot of open houses, so my first question is, if I ask, if I see, oh, you got an agent, have you signed, is my second question, have you signed it? Because like you said, a lot of times, oh, well, they got stuff my house 8 years ago or whatever.
Again, yes, because it's a vetting
But that's
question.
my, so that I stay away from falling into.
That, or like, have you guys looked at houses yet? I mean, like, there's 100 million ways to vet, to see, there's some scriptings that straight go, oh, who's your agent? Oh, I might know one. I've been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah.
If they give you a name, probably legit. If not, probably not. Okay. So again, psychology, how do we get the questions and get the responses we need? Okay. Now, some of these things too that we're going to teach actually work in real life too. So like the non-clients. So, okay. Any other questions, concerns, and or pipe-ins? Okay. So again, well, I never want this slide. See how excited I get people? anyways, again, just go over where's the property located, how much the home was worth, when do they plan to move, all this stuff. So remember when I said you guys have some handouts today? I'll send that on an email again.
Everybody pull out your phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I had LMP moment in there. I guess I don't. Okay. Who's heard of the Ford method? I know that Alex likes this one, so you expect.
By the way, if you find, and we will make sure that this time, Rachel, am I, over promising to say we can get them to slide?
Oh, they got like a whole, yeah, I just follow up emails. So yeah, yes. And by the way, okay, if you haven't signed in, sign it. That way I can, yes, if there's any resources like last week, I will send them out to y'all. So, well, you have them if we missed them. Okay. Okay. Who's heard of the Ford method? I have KW agents here, so we should have heard of this. Okay. Thanks. Oh, more hands up, KW people. Thank you. Okay. So Ford method is, it's kind of, it's a motivational concept in scripting, okay? Have you noticed our theme that again, we love to acronym every single thing in our industry. We don't even speak in real words. Okay, so power techniques. Friends and family. Okay, like friends and family. O is occupation, R is recreational, and D is dreams. Okay. So I guess I'll go to the slide that has a little bit more information. Go, Alex, go.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, you're gonna interject.
No, go.
Can't help it. So raise your hand if you have been in this industry and we've told you, call your database, and you're like, what am I gonna say to them?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, that feeling is why you should be paying attention right now. Okay, like, what am I gonna say? Like, I don't know, ask them about their friends and family. How's the kids? If you know they have them, how's the wife, how's the husband, how's the partner? Yeah, and guess what? Hey, are you still working at the same place? That I don't know where you work out, where is that, by the way?
Yes, so, and 100%. So that SOI and stuff that we talked about, perfect for that. Okay. All right, so yeah, so just a couple of questions. You can make it whatever you want to. It's your thing, but yes, how's your family? How'd you meet your spouse? Where are you originally from? What kind of activities are your kids into? Don't ask that question if you don't really know. I like debated if I should have like typed that question because I was like, you know, because I don't know. Someone asked me about my kids right away. What kind of activities your kids do? Okay. Occupation. What line of work do you do? What have you enjoyed about working remotely? If you just happen to know that. How's your job going, right? Like if they're in a market industry, you know, a market specific industry that you have some kind of appeal, you know, ask the questions, whatever. People, if we enjoy mostly what we do, we like talking about it, but at the very least we'll bitch about how much it sucks too. Okay, recreation. What have you been doing to relax? Have you seen any good movies lately? How was your weekend? Right? Just asking questions that we care. We need to care, by the way. But it feels like we care because we're asking the questions, right? So dreams, what are you looking forward to? Where would you like to go next time you travel? I know your son is graduating this year. What's his plans? What's on your bucket list, right? All things, like we love to share the things we're passionate about. What do you have to interject with this, Alex? Anything? Come on. I'm excited to have someone up here with me.
Guys, what is really crucial is like when you can start making connections to things you've experienced, but they happen organically to you instead of because you were doing it by design, right? And let me give you an example. Who's gotten the phone call? You've been in the business for a while, right? Like, hey, we're thinking about listing the property because the kids, like, hard to find kids moving out, so we need to downsize.
Yep.
Yes, right? Okay, so when that organically happened, like, that's why they called you, you like, you just have, you luckily were their agent, right?
Friends and family.
Yes, you're luckily their agent, they luckily called you and they're luckily telling you that they want to sell their house because their friend's kid is moving out and the house is too big now, right? Like, if you hear what she said, right, if you're proactive with your database, you already knew that was true, you're not finding out only on that phone call that they called you.
Mhm.
You already knew the kid, like the final kid was graduating next May.
It won't come as a shock if you.
Yeah.
call with them.
If you get that phone call and you're finding out for the first time, that's how you know you're not in a relationship with your database.
Mhm.
Okay, so the power to this is understanding the structure for you to know. By the way, the best part of this, let me tell you what command doesn't have that all of you should be doing, assuming you're with me, excuse me, but, right, is there are custom fields that you can create down below. Like I have one that is, what's your favorite candy bar? Okay, just an example, okay? Like you should have Ford on there. You should go, I'm gonna create custom fields for my database and it's gonna be Ford. What is their family situation? Where do they work? Now, does command have some spots for this? Yes, you can put their job location, like the job, where they work at, right? That's a spot in command. Okay, but should you have dreams, like they're ambitious, or like they want to own, right? I think of my clients like Scott and Kristen, right? It was like, we wanted to own our investment properties here, and then one day we're selling all of them and we're buying Hawaii. Right? So I better know that, so that when I call them, we go, hey, is Hawaii still the plan? Yeah, it is. You go, great, so I should be looking out for another investment property to build up your portfolio here for that.
Right, and that's their dream.
That's their
So
dream.
follow that.
Bingo.
So,
If you know their dreams and you keep checking in on that, I promise you, it's the same reason that you probably put trust in us if you feel like, because you go, hey, they have a vision, they're gonna execute on, that's fun to be a part of. That's what your client wants from you as an agent. I want the person that's looking out for my future.
does anybody here work with military base? Yeah, so that's huge under occupation. You know, I always need to keep a list of my database on who's getting ready to PCS, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's continual. I have to stay on top of that, or I'm gonna miss them selling the house.
It's gonna be one of my favorite things about
When they
this
get
class.
to the 3-year anniversary, so they're ready to buy their next investment property. If they're on my plan, that's what they're doing. They're gonna be worth
Yeah.
$6 million when they retire.
Yeah, because you get I get referrals every time they come around to the next place they're going.
One of my favorite
Because
things
you care.
about instructing teaching is like, I'll hear something and be like, I never would have said this out loud, but Deborah, you just said something powerful. If you do your job right and call your database and do forward, you may wake up and go, I didn't realize it, but I actually need to sign up for KW military. I didn't realize I had so many people in the military in my
Yeah.
database. Right? Be like, wow, there's a lot of people that I know that serve, right? Maybe I need to become an expert at serving those individuals, right? Like you may uncover things that you didn't even realize you needed to have mentioned from understanding your database at this level.
100%. I love it. So did anyone do their chores from last week, speaking of database? Did anyone tag? Stage? Okay, I got some nods. Okay. Now move forward. Move forward. Okay, move forward. I don't know. All the things. Okay. I love it. Thank you, Alex. All right. Who in here has heard of Denny Grimes? Okay. Denny is, he's probably one of our bigger, scripters, here in KW.
I would argue he's the best scripter in all of it.
Yeah, he's pretty intensely
Grimes,
awesome.
sorry. Denny Grimes.
Denny Grimes, yeah.
I'm gonna challenge on that.
Oh.
I think Gene Rivers.
Gene is great.
Gene Rivers, Denny Grimes, do we need a battle off? Can we get that to happen? That would be so much fun. Oh my gosh. Right? Yeah, we're gonna make that happen. Okay. So, he's wickedly smart. He used, when we were dealing with a lot of homeless sellers, like just such a strong script and objection, just overcoming. Oh, it was amazing. So one of the other things that he has come out with, and you will have this in your packet. I can verify that one's in there. Okay, I didn't forget that one. The 3 outcomes of a listing, right? So again, as you see, we're not really going through like a script that we're gonna again, just concepts in, right, that help us get the information and go where we need to go. So the 3 outcomes of a listing. Has little or no activity. Has showings but no offers, or it sells. Okay, any questions before we go into what that means? No? Okay. So little or no showings. This can only mean one thing, and that is that the market is rejecting the property based on price. Okay? We used to have, what, like 10 showings a week meant that like it was going, it was moving. I'm sure that's dropped quite a bit because our market has slowed down, so I'd be curious what that is. But if we have little to no showings, we're not getting engagement, something's wrong with the property, right? Price is almost always the way to fix things, almost always, okay? And we'll talk about that later too. Showings but no offers. In other words, the property is a bridesmaid, but not the bride, okay? In this case, the price is close enough to market value to attract showings, but still too high to create an offer, okay? There are things in our listings that affect this too. So price is almost always the way to fix it. Okay, we're going to talk about the 4 pain points, so location, marketing, price, and condition. So we all know if we've listed a house, right? We can't price the house to the top if, you know, it needs a full gut or even a facelift, okay? So, if we're not gonna do the work, then we're gonna have to adjust it by price. Or sales, you nailed it, the market right, way to go, you get a gold star. I'll get everybody a packet.
Mic drop.
Yeah, micro. Okay, so, let's talk about this. Who's experienced any of this? Who's had a listing just sit? Okay. Little no showings. How frustrated does that make our sellers?
Very.
When it just sits and there's no activity, it's not that necessarily that it's sitting, it's just that there's nothing. They're just wasting their time right now.
And there's always the case too, where, you know, the seller has pie in the sky figure, you've talked with them, you've reasoned with them, you've shown them the data. They still say, no, my property's worth this. So you say, and we've done this before, and we've written it in their contract that it says, for their listing agreement, it says, okay, if we have, after so many days and so many showings and it doesn't, we're going to agree to drop it X amount of dollars. And hit them right there with it, so they don't key and call with you after it goes active. Because it's harder to do that. It's harder to get them to.
Yeah, building in those price drops.
So it's
yeah.
really comes down to your initial conversations, I know, but it's a lot of times a strong-willed seller who refuses to accept, I'm not gonna put it on the market for anything less, because my neighbors sold this for theirs, yada, yada. So, yeah, it's,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, and we have those tough sellers, right? We have the frustrated ones, we have the unreasonable ones, and then sometimes we get thrown a little, you know, beautiful unicorn, and we get a really amazing seller that is willing to do all the things. So one of the last classes we're going to talk about is a very specific and proper seller update that is going to help alleviate some of that too. So with putting the expectation into your listing contract is beautiful. I've seen that done quite a bit, where you naturally have that expectation is here. Because, right, like sellers can say, I want this for my house. We can comp it out and say, well, it's worth this. But who tells us if we're right or wrong?
Market.
Market. Yeah, and the market's constructed of where our buyers are willing to do and what they're not willing to do. Yes, 100%. So a couple different ways. I like that, Deborah. Like that might be a great breakout. We are going to have start having breakout sessions, like one classers that are just diving into a very specific thing within some of these classes. FYI, I think that's a great one. How do we set that expectation in the listing thing? Maybe we can get Wednesday in on that one. You think, Kelsey? Because that's contract stuff. I don't know, because I love you and you know her. I'm like, oh. Okay, so let's see. You know me and my memes. Okay. Pain points. So we kind of touched on this just a minute ago. Who has ever heard of the 4 pain points in a listing? Okay, awesome. Cool. It is location, condition, marketing, and price. Okay. Some of these we can change. Some of them we can't. One we always can and we'll always fix. We can't do the other ones. Okay. So Location matters, how close someone needs to be to reach conveniences, jobs, schools, etc. The further out, the more likely it is to affect the price. So is there anyone in here that has worked Surprise in the last 2 years? Cool. And Gloria and Kevin, yeah.
Whitman,
Kevin, you and me, man. Okay, so Gloria, you're seasoned. Kevin, you're seasoned. What happened to Surprise? Where was Surprise's values about 2 years ago? Yeah, they were pretty sexy, man. For being that remote in some of those places, those home prices were pretty high. And what happened as soon as the market shifted in that May when we had the interest rate spike start to happen? What happened in Surprise? I'm just using that as an example. It happened everywhere in our rural areas.
Yeah, all rural areas go down.
It went down and our days on market went to months, almost instantaneous. It was so hard. I mean, and of course, everybody wanted it up and it was saturated. And it took a hit, right? That location, because it was further out. And so what we saw, and Kevin, I'm gonna ping off of you because we can use the Cave Creek one. Victoria's.
Oh, okay.
So then Kevin had a listing right off of Cave Creek and we had two, but
What's that?
you had two, but Sweetwater? Sweetwater. Okay, Cave Creek and Sweetwater at around the same time. That one went, got another listing and that one went. Okay. Why? Because it's always more desirable in general to be in the inner city, right? So the inner or our city or our direct suburbs they won't feel the impact of our rural areas. So, when someone looks at you and says, okay, but my friend's house at this point, they got this and I have the same square footage and my house looks the same, it's the same builder. Okay, like on paper, it is a comparable house, but we're literally in two different areas, right? And and that location is going to affect it. What other location pieces will affect a house?
Street it's on, traffic patterns.
Yep.
Freeways.
Rains.
dirt road versus paved.
Thank you. I was just gonna say Air Force. So do you see that, right? Like you can have a house too, and we've seen this a lot where you're like sitting, like the neighborhood's great. They have no landscaping and they're against a really busy road. They have nothing to break it. They can hear everything, we've got lights right there and everything. Out back in the south, one that's not facing that, right? It will adjust the value. Not $100,000 worth, but you know what I mean? It will, so we do have to consider that. Any questions, thoughts about location particularly? I guess I should go to the next one. I just like to, okay. Okay, so condition. How many of you are willing to touch distressed properties? Okay. How many of you prefer them to just be turnkey, so you don't have to make your sellers do anything?
Prefer?
You lazy. No. We don't say no to real estate people. Okay, yeah, thank you. We are not in a market to be picky right now, people.
Right.
But again, okay, so condition, like deferred maintenance, upgrades, specialty touches, and when I say specialty, oh, some of the things you see people do, they're like, that's beautiful, and you're like, ooh, stop. So, those will always cause adjustments and could affect the potential offers, okay? So again, let's go back to, let me pick another neighborhood. Glendale's a great one. We have older houses here. Bel Air is an old subdivision, correct? Okay, and you go into these homes and more often than not, there's gonna be a lot of deferred maintenance. That community's been there for a while. But again, we can go further out and go into a newer community and it's great. And it's only like a mile because I like to say we are a pocket city, okay? We have a couple zip codes and areas that are pretty specific, but unlike other states, we can have a high price point, a medium, and a low price point all in a mile radius sometimes. It is really weird. We are a pocket city. So we really do have to look at that, especially if we have comps that affect, we don't have comps, right? So then we have to start looking at a general, piece and spanning out of a subdivision or something. Okay, so when you have a seller that looks at you and says, well, my neighbor got this and my house is worth this, but the neighbor had completely put quartz in and white cabinets and dark, some dark flooring and a beautiful favored gray, whatever your preferred is, walls, right? They upgraded windows and stuff, and this one's still the original build. Will that affect the price?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, now, sellers like to think that I put all this money in and I'm gonna get it all back, and that's not the way that works. That's a whole nother conversation, maybe a breakout session, okay?
You
But-
enjoyed it, you enjoyed it, that's one of the things that I tell the customers, you enjoyed the upgrades that you made in your house, so now you gotta let it go. Maybe
Yeah,
25%, 30% of what you.
yeah, it just, they're not gonna get the value back, right? Again, that's a whole different expectation conversation. That's why, too, with the right seller updates going out, that's giving them a clear picture of what's actually happening in their neighborhood and what they're listing, okay? That'll be an easier conversation to have. Okay, marketing. You know me, I like to just. So we, my dears, we are not sitting in a market that our listings are flying off the shelf. In certain areas, they will. Okay, everybody's still got like a 6-dayer, okay? But our average days on market have gone up to months. Okay, I like to say back in the day, because there's lots of layers to back in the day, depending on how long you've been in it. But we used to take a listing for a year to a year and a half, and if we sold it in 6 months, man, we were winning over here, okay? So, and we didn't have the tools that we have now. So I truly believe right now that anybody who's come in the industry over the last 4 years, you guys had to work a different way, and you guys were busy a different way as being active there. There's a lot of things going on. And I don't know if we really know how to be a skilled sales agent, okay, and really sell our properties. And I'm not saying that we're capable. We were just in a really crazy market. I also feel that way about us veterans. When things are good for a long time, we get complacent. And then think of what has changed since before COVID happened to here, to where technology and things like that have changed so much. Okay, parameters, we've had players in the game that used to never be on the game, going back to iBuyers, hedge funds, like some of those components, those disruptors, right? We've had ISAs saturate a market in which it used to just be agents having the conversations with potential clients, right? We've had a lot of disruptors. So the way that we market and prospect, they are two separate things, but I wanted to keep consistent, okay, people? But what is prospecting? Anyone know? Okay.
Always talking to somebody.
Yeah, you're actively finding ways to have conversations and prospecting for. It tends to, it still can be a nurture game too, but it tends to reap a more immediate low hanging fruit or immediate results, okay? What is marketing?
Advertising.
Long-term
Put
gain.
it out there, yeah.
Yep, advertising, marketing.
Marketing's more long term.
It is long-term, right? But they go hand in hand. They support, okay? And remember when we talked about being in a digital world, okay? We're in a digital world, so our marketing world has changed. So we just need to learn how to be skilled sales agents, people, okay? We're all capable, we've got honorary psychology and problem solving project management degrees over here, okay? So we're capable, we just need, we need to be consistent and be doing it. So, yeah, and MLS is just not gonna sell your home all the time, people. I don't care if it syndicates to 800 websites. That just doesn't do the trick anymore. Questions, so far, okay. Price, so I put this one last because, again, if the home is overpriced, and you're not adjusting for locations, conditions, or anything like that, okay? Obviously, it's just not gonna sell. But if it's priced right, it'll sell. And price can always be fixed. Again, can you change the location?
No.
No.
Yeah, you get, oh, never. You can't change that's on a busy street. Make some things felt better. Condition, can we change condition?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Sometimes.
It's gonna just.
Can we change it fast enough?
no,
Sometimes.
not really.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So again, if that's not an option, price has to be the compensation, okay? And marketing, can we change that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we have full control over that bad boy, okay? So when any of these things, or maybe we don't have time to market and they gotta sell fast, okay? What do we gotta do?
Digest the
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we keep going back to price. So if the home is priced right and according to the house, it should sell. Are we moving on?
Can I add something? to that?
Yeah, well, we're gonna break into it.
Gary,
That's crazy.
yeah. Yeah. Gary Keller always says that a property is, it's 80% price, 20% condition, right? So like you can feel like you could do more marketing, you can feel like the sellers are being unreasonable, but if you've been in the business long enough, you know when you price it right, the